X-Pac, 1, 2, 3, 60.
A new day is dawning for DX.
And now, your hosts, Sean, X-Pac, Waltman.
Welcome to X-Pac 1, 2, 3, 60, everyone. Got another good show today. A lot going on in wrestling. And been wanting this guy on the show for a while. And finally we made it happen. And we're joined in studio today by one hell of a funny dude. Roast battle champ and a huge wrestling fan. Make some noise for Mike Lawrence.
Yeah, thanks, man.
There's not as many people in here.
Yeah.
Usually, like when we make some noise, it's actually some noise,
I
Mike.
feel like I'm at a TNA taping.
What a
We should get a studio track sound.
what a huge pop! What a huge pop for Mike. Plus, I could have been better. Like my intro could have been better. I didn't have as much.
And there are as many people in here
Emphasis.
as that watched Raw on Christmas.
So hey, Mike.
Yeah.
I first time I met you was when we did the thing with Ron Funches to get high and watch wrestling. Even though you don't get high, you love wrestling.
Yeah, I did one of the two things. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was really fun.
Yeah, it was
And,
great.
Yeah, and
Watching you apologize to Ron Funches for the blackface was one of the most amazing
dude,
moments.
was that one of the biggest missteps ever? Like, I learned a huge lesson that night.
Yeah.
Huge lesson. That I was still way more tone deaf than I ever imagined, and that the blackface thing wasn't funny.
It was funny, bro. Come on, bro.
Was it ever funny?
Nah,
No.
Nah.
But yeah,
Most
anyways,
wrestling ages terribly.
yeah. Right? Like,
A lot of it does.
Yeah.
A lot of the angles and stuff. But it was, it was in its time and it stayed in its
it's
time.
kind of like comedy, right? Like a lot of old comedy doesn't age
Oh,
well.
yeah. Yeah, there's some Eddie Murphy stuff. Every comic has bits that they're ashamed of,
Yeah.
like from a year ago.
Yeah.
Because the world keeps moving and you got to change with it. Yeah.
Hey, so when we were at All In this past, was it still summer or was that where we in fall? It doesn't matter.
It was September, yeah.
September. So we had a roast, Bruce Pritchard.
Yeah, that was
and
fun.
You killed it.
Oh,
You
thanks,
and Dan
man.
St. Germain just destroyed that place.
Oh, thank you, buddy. Yeah, that was so fun. I was genuinely terrified of Jarrett.
Yeah.
Jeff Jarrett was the legit reason I stopped watching wrestling in 1995. I missed the entire Attitude Era.
Yeah.
95 to 2001. It helped that I was bullied by kids in Austin t-shirts. Like all the 316 says, "I hate that you read comic books," and then I got back into it in 2001 when everyone else left. I'm like, I like wrestling again.
Wow. Your
And
timing is
so-
impeccable, Mike.
But so the hate I had as a fan towards Jarrett that night was real. But then he was like the sweetest guy.
Yeah.
And when you're a kid, you don't see wrestlers as people. But then like getting to meet all you guys, it's like everyone's pretty cool.
Yeah. And when everyone was trying to write stuff for the roast earlier,
Yeah.
and Jeff and Karen came in and they fucked with Taylor Williamson.
Yeah.
Were you there when they did that?
Yeah. I remember I said the line when I was on stage, the only memorable angle you've been in is Karen.
Wow. Oh, that's right.
And he had this look of like, watch what you say next, boy. And I was like, I don't have any other jokes about the woman you're with because I want to live. And Patterson scared me a little bit.
Yeah.
But then later that night they did the karaoke and getting to see Pat Patterson sing My Way made me cry.
Right? Yeah.
It just thinking of how homophobic wrestling's been over the years and that all what that guy's been through and that he survived it and did it his way, it got to me.
Yeah. I remember when we used to see him do that way like many years ago.
Yeah.
And he would sing that and we understood what it meant. And not everyone else did.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. So honored to know Pat actually.
Yeah, he
did
was
you ever
great.
Yeah.
Briscoe was scary too. He was so drunk.
Yeah.
He was like jokingly putting people in headlocks until you realize he was really putting people
Yeah.
in headlocks and he could just accidentally kill you.
Yeah. Hey, let's get to some of the news of what's going on.
All right, well,
how about we do that?
Let's go ahead and kick it off with, you couldn't go on your Twitter account and not see someone's opinion about this like latest viral clip. So it was actually Priscilla Callie took on Tuna at Suburban Fight, an event they held in LA towards the end of December at the Hi-Hat. And
Wait a minute. Did you just say she took on Tuna?
Yeah. Did it sound weird?
Did they call her
Okay.
Tuna? How do you not call her Tuna?
I will
Vachon?
rephrase that.
Nah.
It was Priscilla Callie versus Tuna. There you go.
No, but I just didn't realize the other girl's name was Tuna.
Oh, you didn't?
No,
Oh.
that makes it even better.
Oh,
Keep
yeah.
going.
Okay, yeah, her name was Tuna. Sorry, I thought that. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so they had a match together, and in this match, there was a spot where Priscilla Callie reaches into her trunks and she pulls out a bloody tampon.
Yes.
And then afterwards, she goes on and puts it in Tuna's mouth.
Yes.
So obviously,
From
there was
her tuna to Tuna.
God, but
So people were obviously this clip ended up going viral, and people didn't. Some people absolutely loved it. Some people absolutely hated it and said that it was a horrible thing to do. It's ruining wrestling. Whatever. Everyone had their different opinions. And after the clip went viral, Priscilla Callie was one of the most talked about things on Twitter, and she went on to say, "A penis is funny and awesome. A vagina is disgusting and trashy. # equality." So I don't know. What were your guys' thoughts on this?
I don't know about that tweet exactly, but like I just think that it was blown completely out of proportion. Like it wasn't my cup of tea. I don't but like I didn't get really bent out of shape over it. Like when I looked at it, like I saw that it was an adult themed show. And it wasn't like, I mean, I don't know. I don't have to like it. It doesn't mean I got to condemn it and like, you know, damn this girl to hell for going out there and trying something edgy. Like, you know, it's hard to go out there and get attention and get noticed in wrestling anywhere these days.
Yeah.
You know, you try things, you know, and whether it was a hit or miss is for each person to decide. But like, it was for the people in that venue.
Yeah.
And how did they respond? You were there, weren't you?
Yeah, I worked the show, and so the thing about the audience that was there that night was that they weren't necessarily a wrestling audience per se. They, you know, obviously you have your wrestling fans there, obviously, but a lot of the majority of the audience is, you know, like, hey, let's go out on a Friday night, Saturday night, whatever, and let's do some fun. Let's watch some wrestling. So I can see other people's points of view in terms of, you know, they're showing, I guess in their eyes, they're showing this version of what wrestling is to people that are not necessarily like hardcore fans.
Yes.
So maybe they don't want that to get out there when there's people out there, you know, busting their butt trying to put on a good match, you know, technically speaking. So I think that that's why there was some, you know, some people that were not, you know, fans of it and wanted to express that. And
that's okay. It's okay to express like the way you feel, but like I just think it's terrible to completely condemn this girl and you know even some of my friends and like Road Dogg, you know, he his initial reaction, sometimes we react to things instead of thinking about them, and like, you know, and then it's so easy for like the thought like to go from our brain straight to the goddamn Twitter app, you know, and then, you know, we throw our opinion out there that maybe sometimes like is okay to have, but you know, I don't know, like
I remember, like, you know, it's like as a comedian, I've seen comedy that I'm at first like, that's not what comedy is. And you have these narrow views of an art form you dedicate your life to. And you realize often you end up being on the wrong side of history because the world changes and evolves. And if we want to actually see wrestling as an art form, then we can't just hamper it with all these limitations.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like the Cornettes, the Rosses of the world, what they view wrestling as doesn't even like fully exist anymore, and that's not a bad thing. It's like, if you ever seen the movie Ratatouille, when that critic at the end eats the ratatouille and he becomes a kid again, like that's all anyone wants from wrestling, and you're not always gonna get that. You're not always gonna feel 9 years old watching Don Cornoodle give somebody like a wrist lock for 5 minutes. Like it has all these different things. I mean, there's still a lot of great work rate matches. There's a lot of great gimmicky stuff. Just find what you
and
think
there's
wrestling
even
is.
stuff like that they long for, like the Brock Lesnar matches with different guys, like Daniel Bryan, Roman. You know, those are hard hitting. Not a
Athletic
bunch of high
matches.
spots, not a bunch of flipping around.
Yeah.
but
Psychology,
they're
yeah.
hard matches, and like they are like, you know, what those guys, I think what they're thinking wrestling should be. But like if you go back, Mike, truth is, like if we really go back and look at some of that stuff that, you know, we thought was so great and all that tough, some of it wasn't very good.
And a lot of it was
Some of it was
boring,
great,
yeah.
some of it was really bad.
Because people's taste changes,
Yeah.
you know, and that's okay. I think that, you know, Priscilla Kelly never said that this is all wrestling has to be. It's just a version
Yeah.
of it. And, you know, like you said, it was for that audience.
Yeah.
It's people who don't know wrestling. It's like if I do a gig and the crowd isn't there to see me, I may have to do crowd work. I may, you know, it's about getting over. It's about winning over the people and doing the job you're paid for.
Yeah.
And her job was to entertain these people in a bar. And for her, like, if that does it, then she did her job.
Yeah, and you go out there and say you're working in front of an audience, people don't know who you are. You know, you gotta go out there. There's different ways of working. Like you work like you are over, and you work to get over. It's two different ways of working, and you gotta go out and try a lot of different things. And go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I agree with her equality thing in the sense that there are so many more offensive things in wrestling than this, like me chopping your pee-pee.
Yes.
You know, just all the racism and stuff, the Sergeant Slaughter, Iraqi sympathizer stuff, the Roddy Piper blackface, the
Half black. We had the full.
You know, but all these different things like are way worse that we weren't offended by. And it's like, this is what you're gonna get upset at. Like every guy who complained about this and said it was killing the business has been a part of things. Like JR was a part of the Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club. That was way worse than this.
Well, she did say that her intention was not to go viral. However, she has a few seconds later, I checked her Twitter and she was already at 24K. So she's literally grown thousands of fans like in the last few days or so. So, you know, good for her. Now
Anyways.
she has a bigger audience.
Yeah.
People know what she's up to.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on, we did have a big week of wrestling, as we were saying. One of the things that happened, obviously, was New Japan's biggest event of the year, Wrestle Kingdom 13. A lot of news came out of that, a lot of great action, some of which included, in terms of news, Wrestle Kingdom 14 in 2020 will be held on January 4th and January 5th, which is a new thing in terms of breaking up, I guess you can say, breaking up a major event into two parts.
Yeah.
But Sean, I guess you want to go into some of the matches that, you know, maybe were a standout, maybe starting with Ospreay and Ibushi?
Well, yeah, I just, you know, the show's about a week old now, like, but I just thought I didn't want to, you know, have this show without like at least talking about it and what a great show it was. And you know, the matches I focused on, you know, were the Ospreay and Ibushi and Jericho, Naito and Tanahashi and Omega. I mean, those were the matches I had time to, you know, to really focus on. And I thought they were great. I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Denise?
Well, personally for me, I think that Ospreay Ibushi was very different from what I expected. I think what I expected was more of what Will Ospreay did with Marty Scurll over at Fighting Spirit Unleashed when they were last here in Long Beach. In terms of the match, was like very like high spot, nonstop. And that's what I technically expected from this match. But this match went a little bit different. It had a lot of different layers to the match, which I thought was really cool. You know, they did a lot of different stuff that hasn't been seen as well, so that was really fun. But yeah, I mean, I went on and I said that I still preferred the Ospreay Marty Scurll match, but I think it's different for everybody else. But I think that this match was very hard to follow for the rest of the people after
For
that.
sure, and I like Ospreay's finish.
Yes.
Well, I mean, what did he call that? It wasn't his. He didn't do it. He did it to set up his finish. That blade thing, that thing where the elbow strike to the back of the head.
I think that's also also was that the part that also gave Kota Ibushi the concussion?
Yeah.
I believe so, because there was a few moments during that match where you kind of had the feeling that
No, it's at the end.
Yeah, okay, so then towards the end.
Yeah, right at the end.
Yeah,
where
okay,
he
that's
was
where-
lined him up and he hit him with that back elbow to the back
he
of
gives
the
him
head.
this insane kick, and then it was the
Yeah.
elbow. Yeah,
There you go.
it's crazy. Like, I'm not a wrestler. It just looks like they're actually hurting each other a lot of the time. They probably
does.
are, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're just in pain all the time.
Like every time I see like that B, what do they call that, B trigger?
The V trigger.
Yeah, like the knee to the head.
Yeah.
It looks like those guys are killing each other with that.
The pile driver
I
and
was
the
about to
Jericho
say.
match. It's just
Yeah.
like, I mean, more power to them, but I don't want to see people actually get hurt.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, I mean, the pacing is insane in these matches. Like, I watched the Tanahashi Omega this morning, and it feels like you're watching it on double time. Like, it's on fast forward the entire time.
Yeah.
Their cardio is unbelievable.
And it amazes me as someone that's been in a lot of matches and a lot of big matches.
Yeah.
And, to go out there and have that type of, it's all like next level stuff to me like that. Like, you got to do a lot of thinking out there. And I mean, because it was a 40-minute match,
I think it was 39.
something like that. Yeah. And there was a lot of stuff going on in that match. And that's a lot of thinking and a lot of communicating or like trying to be on the same page. And, like when you have a dancing partner and you guys are just really in the pocket, like it's man, it's so impressive. So impressive.
Do you wish you were in your prime now?
No. No fucking way, Mike. You kidding me?
You see those matches and you're like, I don't know if I could do this or
Yes.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
Wow.
I'm just fucking telling you.
You helped
right now.
pioneer that stuff though.
Yes, that's fine. But they took it to another level and then another level and then another level after that.
Yeah.
So, yes, I'm happy to have been a part of pioneering that, but these guys are on a whole different level.
Well,
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Mike, you did mention the pile driver spot, and I kind of want to circle back to that because I
Yeah.
don't know if you guys saw Chris Jericho's head afterwards. I saw it on the show, and then afterwards on Instagram, he did share a picture where you can
Yeah.
see this hole right above his head, and it's red and it's irritated, maybe even missed some hair at that point. It was pretty gruesome.
Yeah.
But overall, I think in terms of the Naito Jericho match, I preferably enjoyed this match a lot more than
Yeah, it
their
was
first
better.
match, and I also thought it was better than his match with Kenny Omega.
Yes.
So,
they
yeah.
had, I agree. Even the last one, I think that
Naito Jericho.
that Naito and Jericho have better chemistry than Jericho and Omega.
He
Totally.
blows
some
me
reason.
away. It reminds me of like Terry Funk in ECW, where he's there to put guys over and let them be the focus too. There's like a selflessness to Jericho that I really appreciate. I mean, I know we'll talk about All Elite later, but the fact that he wants to be a part of this, it doesn't, I don't know, it could have this feeling of glomming on to the cool kids, but it doesn't. It feels like he genuinely is helping them.
It would if he didn't, bring the A game, bring the when he goes in there, like he's not a nostalgia act. I know, like people have been saying that, like so it's not like I'm saying anything new, but like he brings new stuff.
He's creating,
he reinvents himself, like even the makeup stuff and all that.
Yeah, he's
Just
the guy more than anyone when you talk
Renaissance
about
man.
when you talk about wrestling as an art form. Like
Yeah.
he just elevates it.
Yeah.
That he's always thinking of new things.
Yeah, and I just and he was always the really like the guy that worked harder than the other guys.
Yeah.
He didn't necessarily. He wasn't as athletic as a lot of other guys, but
Mm-hmm.
he outworked them. He was like Pete Rose in baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah, but oh shit. Oh yeah. So, anyways, like I thought their match was better than the first one, and like we talked about was it last week?
I believe so.
Yeah.
What did we talk
Jesus
about?
Christ.
The story? I'm like, the story?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
No. How they needed to have that no DQ.
Yes, they
Remember?
added it.
Yeah.
I believe I think after we shot our show,
Yeah.
they announced that it was added
For the
afterwards.
press conference
Yes.
for the event, Naito was put through a table by Jericho, and they then made it a no disqualification match.
How about those DDT things that Naito takes, like on tables where his head, he's just like straight up and down?
Yeah.
Well,
Something
see,
he's breaking his neck.
that goes with everything that they do in their, in their training, because they don't have like a neck like everybody else. They really like built up the strength in there. So like for him,
I'm aware.
they can obviously take that.
Yeah. Sometimes we would like bridge and hold a bridge for like 2-3 minutes, and it just, anyways, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of neck work, but anyways, yeah.
So
Keep
then,
going.
okay, so we should probably circle back to Hiroshi Tanahashi and Kenny Omega, which was obviously the main event. So I actually went back and watched this match 2 times just to make sure that, kind of got all the points in. But one of the things that we were talking about that you mentioned earlier was a lot of the little things that they added to this match. There was so much in terms of like the spot with the table, the fact that they worked that they worked Kenny's knee. There was just the Hiroshi Tanahashi doing the Styles Clash. There was a lot of little subtle hints that, if you follow the storyline, kind of played in well. With everything, what you mentioned about the new school versus the old school, all of that played into this match, and I think that was really cool. And obviously, Kenny lost the IWGP title to Hiroshi Tanahashi, and a few days later, Tokyo Sports reported that Kenny Omega is indeed leaving New Japan.
Wow. I didn't know it was Tokyo Sports, but obviously I read it on my Twitter feed, and I'm surprised by that move because, well, last time I speculated on things, like the whole landscape was different of wrestling. So, like, it was an easy assumption that, Kenny would stay in, New Japan. But the landscape of wrestling is completely changed in a short period of time. So,
I heard WWE offered him an insane
shitload
amount of money. It's the figure I heard was $23 million. I don't know. I don't think that's true, but
it might be.
It might be.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, because it's like they don't have a good history of like. I mean, AJ is like a good example, but AJ has kids and Kenny doesn't have kids. I don't know if he's gonna want to. Like, he's not gonna be able to do the matches he did anymore. He's certainly not going to be able to do these 40-minute like drop each other on your head clinics,
and also like create all of your own stuff, like produce all your own stuff, write all your own stuff, that's not going to happen.
And he's not a great promo guy. Like,
some people think like Austin, like I remember Austin telling me he thought he was.
I mean, the ones I've
promo.
seen, his voice is just kind of odd to me.
Wait,
it sounds like
Kenny?
yeah. It
Oh
sounds
my
like,
god, I love his promos.
Sounds like he's trying to be Japanese. Like, it's very odd. I just don't know if I want to see him do like. I mean, I guess I don't want to see anyone do 15-minute in-ring promos every week on Raw. That doesn't help anybody. But like, it's gonna neuter what's good about him.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, he did basically say that he needs time away and not just from New Japan. His contract does expire at the end of the month. And I do want to add some more New Japan news. Obviously, Kushida is leaving. His contract expires January 31st. And although it hasn't been officially confirmed, it is, the major rumor that he is going to WWE. Yeah. That's something he's been wanting to do. He was at New Japan already for 8 years, and he basically said he did all that he can possibly do. And in terms of, it sounds like everyone's leaving New Japan, but that's not the case. Juice Robinson and Rocky Romero have signed multi-year deals with New Japan, so good for them. As we know, Rocky Romero does have like a higher position up in the company, so
Rocky wasn't going anywhere,
right?
Anyways.
And he loves Japan, so that's good for him. Juice Robinson apparently. Dave Meltzer did say that both WWE and AEW wanted him, but he's stuck with New Japan, which says a lot, because I know that a lot of people think like Jay White is going to be like the top star, but I won't be surprised if Juice Robinson is right up there with him in a couple of years. With Jay White.
Oh, Jay White. I think you said Jay White.
Yeah. Who's Jay White? No, so I think that they're going to be top two.
I like
guys.
Jay White, but like if I had to put money on one of the two, I'm going with Juice. I'm just right now, I'm going with Juice.
Awesome. So yeah, that's pretty much some of the news that came out of Wrestle Kingdom 13. But now we should move on into everything that was going on yesterday. So yesterday was kind of like an explosion again on Twitter. If anybody was on Twitter, it was just like nonstop.
Yeah.
As you guys know, All Elite Wrestling had their pep rally in Jacksonville, Florida. A lot of news came out of there. Some of stuff that we already knew, some stuff that, you know, people sort of speculated. But the big news is that Double or Nothing will be held May 25th in Las Vegas at the MGM Grand. This will be during Memorial Day weekend, so a really good time for people to drive up, miss some work. Well, not miss work, but be able to go and enjoy the event. They also announced that they will be having a second show in Jacksonville, Florida, and that even though we don't have any dates yet confirmed for this show, a huge portion of the gate will be given to victims of gun violence. So props on them for that. They did have some people come in as well. So some of the people that appeared on the press conference was Pac, which was Neville, SoCal Uncensored. We had Britt Baker, Joey Janela, Hangman Page, MJF, and the biggest one of all was Chris Jericho. He was the final one, came out. Everyone, I mean, there was speculations already of Chris Jericho teaming up with AEW, but it's official. He has signed with them, and he basically went on to say that he was not here for the money, but that he really believes that they are going to be making a change. Other news that came out was equal pay for men and women, and then the Bucks also announced that they would be partnering with OWE, Oriental Wrestling Entertainment.
What's that called?
Oriental Wrestling Entertainment.
You can say that again.
That's what Vince calls New Japan.
Oh, wow.
Look at all those Orientals.
I guess they don't have a problem with that name in Asia, apparently. I guess it's just here.
I don't know. I don't know.
Anyways, so
That name sounds like someone putting a tampon in my mouth. By God.
oh shit, what's that?
So I don't know. What did you think in terms of? Were you surprised at some of the talent that showed up?
I'm
some
surprised
of the
about Jericho
really?
a little bit, slightly.
Even though there was speculation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, just because it kind of, I don't know, like, I guess I wasn't expecting him to show up. Not that it's surprised that he ended up having something to do with the project. Is that it's kind of too big to be just called a project, right?
Right.
So
It's a new promotion.
yeah. I just figured he would show up down the road a ways. Yeah, that's all. I was just surprised he showed up yesterday.
Right. Well, I think that was part of what they needed, like this big announcement, because obviously, you know, if Kenny is going to AEW, they couldn't announce it now because he's still under contract with New Japan, so it wouldn't be favorable to do that. So I feel like they really needed something big to happen at the pep rally. So yeah, that was definitely very shocking, but I think it's exciting, and I think that it really solidifies AEW as a promotion.
Yeah.
All right.
How does the equal pay thing work?
Yeah, I was wondering. I think we should ask Tony when he comes on.
I think so too, because I think that was a lot of what caused a lot of confusion, and if anything, maybe some backlash from some fans that were maybe like, okay, that makes no sense, you know, in terms of like, you know, do we really see that certain people are going to be getting paid at the same level? Do they deserve to be getting paid at the same level?
If I had to guess, what that means is the base pay is going to be the same for men and women.
Because I can't imagine Jericho getting the same amount of
and
money.
And like anyone that thinks that that's how it should go is crazy. Like, I mean, I understand, like, yeah, equal pay. But, like, once you get to a certain level and you're talking about who is actually, you know, generating revenue, like, then when
Exactly,
it gets
because
into it's a little more nuanced than that.
there's
Like,
obviously
okay,
some
everyone gets equal
women
pay.
in the WWE that are making more money than some of the gentlemen, and
Yeah, for
that's
sure.
fine because
sure.
they're a bigger draw.
That's right.
They're maybe worth more, whatever the case is, and I think that's personally, I think that's the way this should be. But I think maybe they kind of didn't explain it right at the pep rally, so that's why some people were like, "What equal pay? What?" You know?
Although I do imagine Vince being like to Ronda Rousey, "You get the same as Kurt Hawkins, and you like it."
So yeah, that's pretty much. I don't know if you wanted to kind of circle back on anything else. Oh, during the media talks with Tony Khan and everybody, they did also mention the part about there being a possibility of healthcare.
Yes.
That hasn't
That's
been
incredible.
confirmed, but he did go on to say about full-time employees having that perk, and obviously a lot of people are. You've mentioned this on the show too, so.
Yeah. I just don't see why it's totally doable to have group health care for their talent.
And I think it's incredible, these social things that they're doing, because it's like, it's not just an alternative in programming, but it is an alternative in the way you run a company. And I think that could be great. Like, when people talk about like whether or not WWE talent will come over, it's like, if you have incentives like that, then totally.
Yeah. And I hear like, there's a lot of what I saw one of Ron Bunch's tweets. He's like, a lot of mid-carders, like, WWE guys, keeping their eyes open, and of course a lot of talent everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
To be able to do promos that aren't scripted, and to be able to like just sell your stuff and get money for it, which I think is one of the things they're doing probably. I mean, like what they've been able to do with Hot Topic and things like that. They're going after a group of disenfranchised fans that
there's millions of those out there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you don't
they
even
really
watch
truly
wrestling
are
anymore.
Yeah.
That I think they could get people who have stopped.
And they got, what I like is, they've got Ryan Barker from Pro Wrestling Tees as their merchandise guy.
Yeah.
I love that guy. He's such a good guy. Did you meet him, Olin?
I think so.
He's a real quiet guy, but he's such a good guy. One of the most pleasant guys I've ever worked with in the wrestling industry. So I'm happy for him. But he brings it. Like, he's got a great business. I mean, he's done huge. Like, he's a huge reason why independent wrestling is doing well. So, or why the wrestlers are,
Yeah, I think it's like, I feel like there's a lot of women into independent wrestling. There's a lot of young people that just don't connect. I mean, this is the perfect time to do a promotion, because I think with the WWE Saudi Arabia deal and all these other backwards things that they're doing, it's the right moment for someone to seize an opportunity and get these fans. I mean, they just got $1 billion to be on Fox. Like, they're in autopilot mode.
Yeah.
And I think this is like a win-win for wrestling.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else, Denise?
Just one last thing that we should mention, just because we did talk about this last week, which was Impact Wrestling moving to the Pursuit channel.
Yeah.
At their pay-per-view Homecoming in Nashville, they did announce that Impact will be broadcasting simultaneously on both Pursuit and Twitch Fridays at 10 p.m. So I just kind of wanted to circle back and say, they're going to be open to a broader audience, obviously, with Twitch.
Good. And like last week, I felt bad, like, after the show. I'm going, God, I might have came up, like, sounding negative towards Impact, talking about their move to Pursuit. It was just being honest. But come on, they put out a really good product, and I really hope that everyone supports it. And I think it's great they're going to be on Twitch. It's just eyes on the product. I don't care if it's on Pursuit channel, Twitch, as long as there's eyes on it. You know?
Well, I'll just go on just to add, if anybody didn't watch Homecoming, they should definitely watch Lucha Brothers versus LAX, because that's a match of the year candidate, and I'm going to stand by it for the rest of the year.
Oh, good.
So, yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing it. So, well, how about we take a break, and then we come back with President of All Elite Wrestling, Tony Khan. Welcome back to X-Pac 12360, everyone. Joining us over the phone right now from beautiful Jacksonville, Florida. He's all over the news right now, and he is the president of All Elite Wrestling, ladies and gentlemen, Tony Khan. Yeah. Tony.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you last minute coming on, and congratulations on everything, and thank you for making wrestling better. Thank you, Tony.
Thank you very much, Sean. I really appreciate that. When you reached out, I immediately was really excited to do this and just talk to you, because we never talked before, and I've been a fan of yours most of my life, and since I would rush home from school to make sure I caught Global, and then I was really excited when you caught on, and I was watching Raw, and I'd watched on the syndicated shows when you come in and done jobs, and I thought the way they built it in, I mean, I really thought they brought you in like as a job guy, and then when you got the win, like I was 10 years old, and it was like one of my biggest TV pops probably in the history of my life. So,
hey, where'd you grow up?
Been a big fan.
Where'd you grow up?
Champaign, Illinois.
Ah, okay, all right. So, so did you used to go to the house shows?
I went to the house shows, and I actually sent in reports to the Observer, and somebody dug them up, and there's like a thread on Reddit. And it's funny because like I told Cody this might happen. I was like, I think I wrote up a house show you were on when you were like 22, and I think I gave you like 1.5 stars for this match.
Oh yeah.
I saw those screenshots, Tony. I was laughing when I saw like your little star system as well.
Hey, I'm just curious how many stars I got. And actually,
well,
no.
I don't think you were on the show, Sean. I would. I mean, in all honesty, I mean, look, that stuff's all in the eye of the beholder, and it's all fun and stuff.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, it's like really. I mean, when you send those in, I think like from a house show standpoint, it's really. I think it's cool for like. Look, it's not something I plan on doing with our company. Like I really feel like for us, it's a great opportunity. To make wrestling like it hasn't been taken seriously as the true athletic competition it is in other sports. Wins and losses matter, and I feel like wins and losses are a huge part of the equation. I really want a win and a loss to be taken seriously, and the win-loss record should be a huge component of the competition to build up to the championship. And it's something we'll take very, very seriously. I mean, in my background in sports, I'm a huge believer in statistics, and I think that's one area where in wrestling, we've seen some cool stuff got over, whether it was like the Goldberg streak with a shoot number, and I just think there's real opportunities to do some really interesting things. Just in terms of building up athletes the way UFC has, as legitimate competitions, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I mean, because I used to back when I was in WWE and they were going more towards the action adventure show presentation or however they wanted to put it. I was like, people tune in because they want to see an athletic contest. That's how I still want to see that in my wrestling, Tony. But hey, so like not just as a. Were you going to say something? Did you have a thought? I'm sorry.
Well, no, I really like when I see what boxing has had a resurgence around building up some champions and building up some challengers and building up some big fights. And I think what you saw at our press conference yesterday, like Pac versus Hangman Page is a match people really want to see now. And we built a lot of buzz for it, and I'm really excited for that match. We were all really excited about that match, and it's been certainly the talk of our locker room, and everybody's fired up about it. And coming out of the event, I think people really want to see that, and they want to see what else we're going to be doing. Yeah,
and I was excited when I heard that you guys signed Pac. He's kind of been even now that he's been a free agent. Like he's been pretty careful about what he's done. Like he don't even do interviews, right? You know that? Like so
he's a good guy. He's a really good guy. He's even though he's a Newcastle supporter, he's a good guy. I don't know how many of your listeners are going to be big on English football in the Premier League.
Oh, enough.
But Pac's a big soccer guy, big English football fan, and really good guy.
Hey, did I just, not to jump around, but that's how kind of I am. I'm ADD. I read that,
Sure.
that your home wrestling promotion, you consider Rev Pro in UK? Is it Rev Pro?
No, I don't consider it my home. I mean, that is like I am.
Is that the one you go to all the time?
I live in London I live in London a good chunk of the year. I'm the general manager of Fulham
Right.
In the Premier League, and I love doing it, and it's a huge part of my life. And the time I spend there, Rev Pro does some nice things, and I've seen Pac there, and they have a lot of great people there, and I visited with Andy, the promoter. He's a really nice guy. So I mean, I do live in London a big chunk of the year. I live in Jacksonville a big chunk of the year too, and I also just the nature of the job spend a lot of time on the road. But yeah, they do some good stuff with Rev Pro for sure. I went to one of their shows recently. It was a nice show, and there's some great stuff going on in England wrestling scene for sure.
Well, speaking of you and Pac and being a part of All Elite Wrestling, one of the biggest announcements, or one of the things that people were very excited about, was Chris Jericho. So I want to know, you've obviously been a lifelong fan. How did it feel to have Chris Jericho not only sign on to your company, but say that he really believes in what you guys are doing?
I'm a lifelong Chris Jericho fan. Like, I would trade for war tapes. It's funny. There's a guy who made a comeback in podcasting. Sean, do you know John McAdams? Do you know who that is?
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've heard that name, Tony. Wow, he was a tape trader.
Yeah, I used to do so when he was trading tapes. I did the HTML for John McAdams when I was 12 years old, 13 years old maybe, and he would give me tapes. And if I did the HTML, and he was a nice guy, and he was really into college football. He is really into college football. I haven't talked to him in probably 20 years. But I saw he came back with a podcast recently, and I was just glad he's okay, because he disappeared off the face of the earth a long time ago, and I hadn't talked to him in a long time. But yeah, but it's funny you say that. So I got into tape trading at a young age, and so I like War, and the match Chris had with Ultimo Dragon, I think July 7th. 1995, that's a classic.
Hey, was that the junior tournament they had?
I don't think it was the junior tournament.
Oh, okay.
I think it wasn't. I don't think it was. I don't. Maybe, man, I could be wrong. Maybe
I
it
was
the
in
final.
that junior.
Maybe
I was in that.
Final.
I was in that junior tournament.
Were you there? Was it July 7th, 95? I mean, I've seen the match a bunch of times. It's like the butterfly superplex finish. But I saw it many times, and I don't know the context it was in. I mean, I saw it as a standalone match on a comp tape, but I love that match, and I watched it 100 times as a kid. And then when Chris came into ECW, I actually I got into this high school, and it's University of Illinois Laboratory High School, and it's one of the best high schools in the country. And we had the top ACT average for our senior class, and there's some awesome people that have gone there, and everybody there was really smart and awesome, my parents really wanted me to go there, and I was nervous about the workload and stuff as a really young kid, as a 12, 13-year-old kid, when they were telling me about this. And they said, well, you can have anything if you get in there. And I said, well, I really want to go to ECW. And my dad was like, yeah, what's that? And I told him, I want you to take me to Philadelphia and go to this. And so if you look, Chris's last two shows, his last two dates in ECW, he did the Friday night at the Lulu Temple with Sabu, and he did Saturday night with Too Cold Scorpio at the ECW Arena, and that's actually the last show he did. And those matches are great, and the Scorpio match is actually a classic. It's one of the best ECW matches, I think. And maybe I'm biased because I was there, but it's really great, that Jericho Scorpio match. Scorpio does the shooting star press at the end, and the place really popped for it.
God damn,
and
Scorpio's good.
So anyway, I was there for Chris's last two matches in ECW. So my long-winded answer to your question is, it was pretty cool to officially get Chris signed up. And I've talked to Chris for a while. It's not the first time I talked to Chris, and gotten to know him, and definitely, I think he was very, very interested in doing this. He sees that what we're doing, for the wrestling community. I mean, thank you for what you said, Sean. I do think we are like going to make wrestling better. Like, the guys involved. And
you already
don't
have.
know me at all, but I hope from talking to me for 10, 15 minutes or however long we're talking here that, you see, I do care about it. It's one of my passions. It really is. Like, I didn't have a lot of free time in my life. Like, and the fans of Fulham, our Premier League soccer club, they're nervous because I'm the general manager of the club, and they're like, well, we're very nervous about Tony spending his time on this. And it's like I said, well, okay, to be fair, like I'm the head of statistics and analytics for the Jaguars, and I'm the director of football and sporting director at Fulham. But any spare time, free time I had with my life, I was really like, if I got any time to myself, I would, go huddle up on my iPad or whatever and watch wrestling. And it was already what I was doing with my free time. And now I don't really have any free time, and this is a business too. And it's really good because I can like maximize, it's turning this into a profitable business too. Then I've really got maximum efficiency because then I love everything I'm doing, and it's all business, I guess. And I never wanted to invest in the wrestling business. I never, all these years, other than, shows and tickets and, just being a regular average wrestling fan, and sure, paying probably more attention to it, reading the Observer every week and so forth. But not like, investing millions of dollars in the business. The opportunity, the climate, it just really changed recently. So it's exciting.
That's what I was going to get at, because I mean, we can be the biggest fan of something in the world, but that doesn't mean we're going to sink millions of our dollars into it. And so, as someone like deals with numbers, you had to have seen something besides, just a little bit of a buzz on the internet that made you go, okay, this is something we can make huge.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a business climate right now is very good for what we're doing. And I think there's a great opportunity. Obviously, there was a lot of talent that was going to become available in 2019 to put together a top roster, and I think that's what we've already begun to do. And we already have some of the best workers in the world. And I think as we build up and build out, I think we'll develop top to bottom like a really, really special roster of talent here. I just think it's really something pretty cool because the guys on top can work, and the guys underneath, you better believe we're going to get guys underneath that can work.
And they're hungry, and they're going to be so hungry, Tony, and you're giving them a platform, and wait till you see what you get out of these guys. I mean, because as an industry as a whole, we're so grateful for this. So wait till you see how grateful these guys are, and how great they're going to bust their ass.
Well, I know these guys, and I don't have any question about the work ethic of the people I'm going into business with. I mean, you look, how can you question Chris Jericho's work ethic? How, and Cody and the Bucks are friends of mine. How can I mean, those guys work their asses off. And Hangman Page is going to be a big, big, big star in this business.
Absolutely.
I feel really, really strong about that guy.
Because he's got better.
Like you said, Pac's awesome.
When I saw Hangman Page in Long Beach, he worked with Jay Lethal, and Jay was hurt, so the match wasn't as great as it could have been. And then I saw Hangman Page later, and then in different, like at the Cow Palace show and different things like that. And I'm just so impressed with that guy. And he's got a good head on his shoulders, and he just seems like a really good guy. On top of it,
I like him a lot. He is. That's a great observation, Sean. Yeah, I mean, no, I totally agree with everything you're saying. He's. I think he has really come into his own. I mean, I really liked him a couple years ago, but I think, he's really developed into a really well-rounded, just a guy, like you said, he just has it. And he always had the spark, but yeah, he's definitely put it together. Something's clicked in the last year. I definitely think this is a main event guy, and you're going to see it. We're, like I said, everybody's jacked to the gills around here, juiced about Pac versus Page.
Oh, yeah.
And, that, like I said, Pac's another guy who's a really hard
Best
worker.
in the
You know what
world.
you're going to get from him.
Hey, so Tony, about Pac, he deserves to be in anyone's conversation that's talking about best in the world. Like top 5 guys in the world, and he's in that conversation. Easy.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Easy. I mean, and
Totally.
if he would be more active, maybe the top guy, actually. But hey,
Definitely right there. Definitely right there.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite performers. Both. I mean, he's a great live performer too. By the way.
So hey,
really. Yeah.
So Tony, there's been different rumors and that, and so I just wanted to ask you about Bill Goldberg. There's been rumors of talks with him.
I'm sorry about what, Sean?
Bill Goldberg.
Oh yeah, sorry. I have spent some time with Bill. I really like Bill a lot, and he's one of the greatest drawing cards ever in this business. He's a huge star, household name, and I really like Bill. We bonded a lot because both of us are really passionate about football.
Yeah.
And what's fun is like I really do love wrestling. This is not an act, as you can probably tell.
Right.
From talking to me for a little while, and same for football. I really do love it, and Bill is the way I'm gushing about wrestling. Bill can gush about football,
Yeah.
and I can
cars.
also just switch off and do that, if that makes sense. Like
Sure.
I can talk like team and like protections and like and talk football, which is fun with a lot of guys in wrestling, because a lot of guys in wrestling played football and like they get away from it and then like but they switch right back onto it. And Bill's beyond that. Bill played. It's not just a guy who played football. Bill was a big college football star, and then went on and had a good NFL career. And so it's fun like hanging out with Bill, and then coming around the NFL, because when he's coming to the stadium, like there's so many people that played against Bill, both college and pro, that are still in the game, and like his peers, and they can just like talk. And there's people Bill's never even met before.
Yeah.
And if you'll walk into the room 5 minutes later and you'll think they're best friends, you'll be like, wait, these guys just met today? And it's like, yeah, no, they're just bonding over like guys they both know in the game of football. These guys have never even met before. That's just like, and you could do the same thing in a wrestling locker room. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Two guys that have never met before, but they know all the same guys.
Oh yeah.
And so Bill, like, I really like Bill a lot. And if the situation was right, obviously, Bill at WrestleMania, less than 2 years ago, was defending the WWE Championship,
Yep.
and Bill's a great star and a great attraction. And
Tony, the only reason I brought it up is just because there was rumors flying around that he might be one of the guys that you guys signed. That's the only reason I brought it up.
Yeah, no, I haven't. I haven't agreed to anything with Bill or anything, but I like Bill a lot. He's awesome.
So,
I just wanted to put him over like as a great dude, because he's awesome.
So, Tony, we're speaking about the roster, some of the guys that you've signed already, some of the guys that you're thinking about signing, etc. The rumors are endless of everything that's going on. But my question to you is, are you looking to buy any other promotion, maybe to absorb their roster?
No.
Awesome.
No, we're looking to start something new. I'm not looking to absorb. I am open to partnerships. There's a lot of people doing exciting things all over the world, and especially internationally. I'm very open to partnerships. And domestically, I think I've seen the future, and it's what we're doing. And I'm very, very, very happy with where we're at today. Yesterday was a really, really big day for us as a company, and we have a lot of work to do going forward between now and May 25th. Double or Nothing. And I didn't want to come on, like, out of respect, Sean, and want to come on your show and, like, plug my pay-per-view right away.
Yeah.
But if you don't mind, if I do, I feel like we got a lot of work to do between May 25th, Double or Nothing in Las Vegas at the MGM Grand, Memorial Day weekend. It's going to be a really good time. Sean, I hope you're going to be there.
Oh yeah.
Would love to love to see you there. But yeah, man, I'm not really looking to honestly acquire a lot of other companies or even libraries, but as far as like partnerships and things of that nature, I think there's a lot of exciting things people can do, and it's cool because I wrote something up in advance of the press conference yesterday, and I don't know if any of you had a chance to read the statement I wrote
about the golden era of professional wrestling. Is that the statement you were talking about?
Pardon? What about the what a professional?
Oh, were you talking about the statement that you put out about the golden age of this being the golden age of wrestling?
Yeah, sure. I guess, I guess I did. Yeah, okay, that part of it. Yeah, it was really about the wrestling community, is what I was trying to get out. That I've been a part of the wrestling community since I was 7 years old, is what I was saying, and we're like a special breed of people. Like, if you're listening to Sean Waltman's podcast right now, there's a good chance what I'm talking about.
Yes.
That when you watch movies, you see the angle before it plays out, and when you watch politics, you see the angle that the other people in the room don't see because you're a wrestling fan.
Yep.
And we all have this in us from watching it our whole lives. And when we watch a wrestling show and there's people in the room that maybe they even watch some wrestling, but they don't watch as much as us, and we see the finish coming from a mile away before they've even started the match.
Right.
And it's just look, at the end of the day, we all have we all want the same thing. And I just think for the wrestling community, there have been some really good things happening, but it's such a unique thing because we're all over the world. I'm from Champaign, Illinois, but like you said, I like going to wrestling in London, in spare time. But yeah. I'm also in Jacksonville, Florida, and I like wrestling here. And like you, Sean, I've heard you on a lot of podcasts before talk about different wrestling, because I think people would have assumed, people think you're like Minnesota, right? But you grew up on Florida wrestling. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm a championship wrestling from Florida guy, Gordon Soley. Yeah.
That's right. As is my guy, Alex Marvez.
That's right. Alex. I haven't seen Alex in many years. I love Alex.
He's one of my best friends. He's
I grew
really
up in
special
South
person.
Florida.
And it was really great. Yeah, I really appreciate him and Conrad. I thought they did a great job yesterday for our press conference.
You know Alex Marvez, Mike?
I grew up in South Florida, and he would write about wrestling in the paper.
Yeah.
This was before I knew about the Observer or anything.
Yeah.
He was the only guy talking about it.
Yeah, I got to hang out with Alex at John Arezzi convention weekend. Tony, you familiar with those conventions back in the day?
Yeah, of course. I was too young. I was a little kid back then. But yeah, no, I read about them, but I was not able to go to those.
So, Tony, I gotta ask, it's been 20 years since, close to 20 years since WCW closed down. So, and since then, a lot of promotions have tried to compete with WWE or, been an alternative to WWE. So what I want to know is, what is All Elite Wrestling gonna do differently to not repeat that pattern?
I mean, we're really just trying to, I want to grow this into being something, like I said in the beginning, that the wrestling community will embrace as top to bottom, beginning to end. Every show, we're going to give you things that we think you're going to enjoy, and I don't want to give you anything unless there's a reason, where it's going to be important later that you saw it. I don't want to give you anything that you're not going to enjoy now, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And there's just no reason for that. And so I think what we have is we have a group of people with so much talent and so much wrestling know-how that I think we're going to be able to generate a wrestling show that's not just filled with great work and awesome promos, but spontaneity and a live show that really feels like a live show where truly anything can happen. And like a word that gets thrown around in wrestling too much is overproduced, and I think it's a bad word because, like, I mean, look, like you want to have like production, you want to look like a half-assed deal. Like, I mean, like the production's great, but like you want to have production and direction. But like, yeah, I want spontaneity, and I'm excited about what we're gonna do, and I think we had some of that yesterday too. Like people had no idea what we were gonna do, and it was what we ended up presenting. I don't know if you got a chance to watch much of it, Sean, but I thought it was pretty fun and pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, it's like I got to go to All In, and the thing that I loved about it as a wrestling fan was that I thought I was a part of it, and I haven't felt that way about wrestling in a long time. Like,
right.
And I think like it feels like that's what you guys are doing, which is exciting. Like to me, wrestling is the art form that is the art of reaction and giving fans what they want, and that's what's exciting to me. Just what the Elite
Cody
has been
and
doing.
the Bucks are geniuses when it comes to that, and I totally agree with you that you're so right, Mike. I felt that way too at that show, but really even before they did All In, I felt that way about these guys. And you know what's crazy is if you look at go back and watch the Long Beach New Japan show.
Yeah.
And you'll see me and Alex Marvez in the front row of the first one they did. And then if you watch the Kenny versus Cody ladder match, in like the video at the beginning where they show like the fans going crazy in the crowd, it's actually like the first people they show in the montage are like me and Alex Marvez. Like it's a big close up of me and Alex Marvez. So like I think that they've been inspiring that for a long time, and like All In I think was the culmination of it. But to your point, when you say it's like the first time you felt like that, yeah, I mean that was like like I said, the culmination, the explosion of it. But to me, like, you know, they've been cultivating that magic for a while.
That's right.
And so I think it's pretty special. And then, you know, from what they did with All In, now we're all a partnership, and we're able to present something, I think, with more resources and more reach. You know, we're able to get people in all corners of the world. And that's what I was saying before was like, you know, Sean, like, you were watching wrestling from Florida, but, you know, there's people watching wrestling in Japan. There's people watching Lucha, and we're on all corners of the world, but like all of us are watching different stuff, but some of us are watching the same stuff. And like, there's like common ground we all have, common points, you know, and I just think like the wrestling community is like so unique. And like, if we can, tap into people all over the world, and like that we have all these common interests and all these common viewpoints and like things we share, then like it could just be really powerful. And I don't think it's ever like all been like harnessed in the way we're going to try and do it before.
Yeah, because you know, hey Tony, and you're talking about being a member of the wrestling community since you were 7. Has it ever been this good? Has wrestling ever been this good since you've been alive?
No.
I mean,
I will say, well, it's different, right? Like,
yes, different.
Yes and no. I think now we can have our cake and eat it. That's what I want is the ability to have our cake and eat it too, right?
Yes.
Because yes and no. Like, I would say, like, yeah, like in like the quality of the work has never been this good. The quality of the engagement, as far as like the people who are interested, are really, really invested and interested. Yeah. Like, this is the golden age of that. Now, as far as the golden age of like a lot of casual people who are casually interested, who then out of those casual people, you slowly suck in more and more hardcore people, where soon, like after like a few weeks, they know all the catchphrases suddenly, and they've like, unbeknownst to them, become a hardcore fan. And like, that, and then just like being like more widely available for public consumption. Then I would say then like the 90s, the late 90s specifically, were probably a better time for that. So like what I would like to do is, again, give the people the ability to have their cake and eat it too, and have the best of both worlds. So like, yes, there are some things now that are better than they've ever been, but I think there are other things that have been better in the past. So when I talked about the golden age in that statement I wrote, I was like saying I want it to be the best of both worlds, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Hey, you know what else? I see you want to do, and I think it's great, is try to provide healthcare for the talent. Can we talk
Well,
about
it
that at
depends.
all?
That's like I would. I have not said I'm providing healthcare.
No, I didn't.
It depends. What I'm doing is a lot of the talent are like some of the people working with us are still independent contractors, and what I'm doing is a lot of people are doing full-time office jobs.
Gotcha.
And the people doing full-time office jobs I have similar benefits to other sports executives, and I have a lot of sports executives that are currently working with us, here in Florida at the Jaguars. So what I've said is like, okay, well, you're sports executives, so I can set you up with like similar healthcare packages. So does that make sense?
Sure, absolutely. Is there a way of providing like a group healthcare plan for the talent though? That's not going to break the bank.
To be honest, Sean, like some of the stuff came together very quickly, so I can't like go on specifics on it. It's also some people's personal stuff, and different deals are different for different people. But but at the end of the day, a lot of people are doing front office jobs. So a lot of wrestlers are going to end up with healthcare out of this.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and also the other thing that really made a lot of people happy to hear is the talk of equal pay.
Yeah, it's equal pay for equal spots.
That's what exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that's fair to me. And I think that's just fair for everyone.
Sure.
So
like if there's a base pay, it's going to be the same base pay for men and women. Is that true? Like if base pay wise,
that's
like
true. Yeah,
minimum.
The base pay. Yeah, that is a very nice way of putting. Yeah, that's a really logical. And that's probably all. I've been asked about this a lot, and that's probably the most succinct, logically well put way anybody's asked it yet, John. Yeah.
Because it's much more nuanced than that. Because you're talking about different people generate more money for the company. They're bigger box office draws, so they're going to get more money. And some of them are going to be men and some are going to be women. So there's going to be some discrepancies in pays, but like base pay sounds like.
And if people are in comparable spots, then the pay is the same. I totally agree, and I think that's really important. I'm not saying that other people aren't doing that. I don't know, but I'm saying that for us, like it's an important issue that I want to make sure we do it right.
Cool.
So, Tony, I have a two-part question for you. First and foremost, I want to know, what do you think is going to be the biggest challenge for you guys to overcome as a startup company? And then the second portion to that question is, what are some of your short-term goals?
I mean, maintaining it's going to be a challenge every week to provide a compelling product, as we go forward. And I think we delivering something that that people want to see regularly, that people will pay to see, and that will make it a profitable business. I think that's very important. And as with what's great about wrestling is I don't know if it's always necessarily, because I've never worked for a wrestling company. I can't speak to this. I've just heard people talk about it on podcasts and read books and stuff. But I don't know if it's always been within the locker room of meritocracy. But as far as the actual economies of wrestling, I do think it's largely been a meritocracy, and it's a cool thing because when you look at what's drawn and what's brought money in, the revenue can largely be tied to good. You can say all right, that was good. That made money. And so I do think that the proof will be in the pudding, and I think it'll be on the company to deliver something that people want to see. And I think we have the performers that can deliver that. We have the brain power, within the organization to deliver that. So I think it's not going to be easy. Everyone's got to work really hard, but I think that's a challenge that everybody's up to, and everybody's chomping at the bit to do it. So I'm excited about it, and I think I know those guys, our guys are really excited about it. Cody and Matt and Nick, the executive vice presidents, they're up to that challenge too. And Brandy,
yes.
It's a lot of hard work for her too, and on helping to establish this brand. and she's very well qualified to do it, and she straddled the line in a really interesting way as both somebody that's been in the wrestling business, worked in different capacities, and seen how different companies have worked all over the world, but also is like a very, very well educated person and has experience in media and education. That it's going to make her so valuable to us as when we try to grow the brand. And I think we're all up to it.
So also in the press conference, the Bucks were saying how you essentially like reached out to them and were like, do you guys really want to change the world? And they were like, yeah, So I wouldn't know. Obviously, it's a big, for a wrestler, it's very like risky. It's a big move to start something like this. It's exciting, it's different, but you never know what can happen down the road. So I want to know, when you reached out to them, was there any sort of hesitation from from Cody or the Bucks, or how did that all work out?
We're all. I think it's like between us, it's a personal story of how this all came to be, but suffice to say, we all made like a blood oath basically, and we're all doing this, and we're all taking each other at our words that everybody's gonna give it their best to make this a really successful business. And I really appreciated the financial commitment that my dad made, and he's been able here to look me and Cody and Matt and Nick in the eye and know that like all of us are committed to give him a return on the investment, and that we're all capable of doing it. I think he wouldn't invest in a business he didn't believe in, regardless of if it was my idea. I know that firsthand. It's not easy to convince my dad to put money into something.
Is he a wrestling fan at all?
No, but he's not. But like he's watched me watch. You know how that goes, right, Sean?
Of course.
Like he's seen enough. Like what's funny is like when Steve, which is the last thing I want to do is get heat with Steve. So like I probably shouldn't even say this, but like when my dad, when Steve got really big, like my dad had seen the Sandman. And like 99% of people watching wrestling had no idea who that was, but he was like, oh, it's like the Sandman. And like I was like, well, no, this guy's like 100 times. This is Steve Austin, man.
Oh shit,
you're
talking about Steve Austin?
I'm like, this guy's like, he's like, I'm like, no, like I've been following this guy since he was, Stunning Steve, through Lady Blossom into the Hollywood Blondes, and through ECW, and now the Ringmaster, and into Stone Cold, and he's come full circle, and he's like the best wrestler in the world. And I'm like, no, like this is way better than that. But like at the same time, I was like, God damn it, he's kind of right. So, yeah, he's just a really smart guy, man. He's the smartest person I've ever met, and he's perceptive about anything, whether it's wrestling, which he's not like the biggest expert on, but he's not. It's not like he has no knowledge of it either.
Sure. Hey, we're gonna wrap the show up, but I wanted to ask you before we go about potential TV deals, and if there's
I
anything
can't really
you
comment on that. If that's okay, Sean. I'm working on some cool stuff. I think it's going to be really good for the industry. I'm really excited about it, and but I can't. I've you sign NDAs with people and stuff, and I just can't really get into it, but
we can say that there's people that we can at least say that there are plenty of interested parties.
I have interest, definitely. You can certainly say that. Yeah, there's interested parties, and there are a number of interested parties, and it's going to be great for everybody. I want it, like I said, I want it to be great for the fans, and I want it every week. I want people to be excited about what this week's going to bring in wrestling, whether you're like a kid in school or, you're at work and you want something to look forward to at night. It's just like, I want it to be a big part of everyone's week. And I think, for the talent, I just think this is a great opportunity for everybody to create something, like I said, a golden age, because, for a lot of the talent, I've always heard the story that in WCW, that people had said like, well, this is the golden age, or specifically that Eric Bischoff had said to the talent, like, hey, this is the golden age, enjoy it while it lasts, and it didn't last. And I think we can create it, and it can be sustainable, and we can build something that it doesn't have to ever die. It can live forever, because I know the wrestling community will never die. Like,
that's right.
As long as the planet is spinning, there's going to be people watching wrestling and people that are passionate about it.
Hell yeah.
It's still real.
Hell yeah.
It's still real to us, damn it.
It is. Tony, hey, I'm so grateful, man, that you spent a lot of your time with us today. And I'm grateful, just like so many of us are, for what you're doing for wrestling. And I look forward to seeing you at
Sean.
Double or Nothing in Vegas.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you. May 25th in Las Vegas at the MGM Grand. I will see you there, Sean, Memorial Day weekend.
Thank you.
Hopefully you come to the whole Memorial Day weekend and you hang out with the guys. That would be fun.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Tony Khan, everyone. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Tony. Have an awesome day, man.
You too, Sean. I really appreciate it. It's nice talking to you for the first time. I really enjoyed it.
Thanks, man. All right. All right, everyone. That was really nice of Tony to spend all that time with us.
Yeah, he gave us a lot of really good
Yeah.
insight on everything that he's thinking for the company. I mean, obviously there's certain things that he can't talk about, but that's a given, But I think either way, it was like very informative.
Did you get some good stuff for the press release?
I did. I was just
All right.
writing a mess of notes.
All right. Hey, Mike. Thank you, man. I
Thanks for
appreciate
having
you
me, man. This was so
coming by.
fun, and I'm really excited about All Elite. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and tell me about your album coming up.
It's called Mega Man Child. It is out now on iTunes, and if you don't have money, Spotify. But if you can buy it on iTunes, please.
Cool. All right. And your Twitter is at the Mike Lawrence.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And Denise?
Yeah, before we go, we should announce that we do have a new official Twitter account for the X-Pac 12360 podcast specifically. If you guys want to check it out on Twitter, it's at X-Pac 12360 show. But other than that, don't forget to follow us on Twitter and on Facebook at X-Pac 12360. And please feel free to use the hashtag X-Pac 12360 on any topics. That way we can actually see what you guys are saying and we can respond and take a look at them. For me, please follow me on Twitter, Instagram at _Denise Salcedo and YouTube.com/Denise Salcedo.
Yeah, and you can follow me on Twitter at The Real X-Pac, on Instagram at Real X-Pac, Lula at It's Baby Lula, and we'll see you right here next week on X-Pac 12360 from AfterBuzz TV Studios.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Keven Undergaro, Phil Svitek, Sean Waltman, producers Mark B. Donica, Jimbo Frank, and the entire X-Pac 12360 staff, we would like to thank you for tuning in. Like us on Facebook, rate and comment on iTunes and YouTube. Follow X-Pac on Twitter at TheRealXpac and email us at xpac12360show@gmail.com.